Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are unpacking a seriously fascinating piece of psychological architecture. Have you ever been sitting in a room, the conversation just suddenly stops, and the air just instantly feels thick? Now, for a lot of people, that moment is just a harmless gap in the noise. But for others, it's something entirely different. Today, we're looking at the actual mechanics of hyper-awareness, specifically digging into why silence isn't always just quiet. We're going to explore this idea of an internal radar, how it gets built in the first place, and why your brain might literally be working overtime when the volume drops to zero.
Section 1. The ghost in the room. You know that palpable, heavy weight of sudden silence? We've all felt it, but for some, it's a completely different experience.
So, what do you actually hear when it's quiet? I'm not talking about the hum of the refrigerator or some car driving by outside. I'm talking about what your mind registers when the social noise completely ceases. Some people hear peace, right? They just relax. But if you've got this architecture of hyper-awareness built into your psychology, you definitely don't hear peace. You sense a presence. The source actually refers to this as the ghost in the room. It's this invisible tension, a sudden sharp shift in the atmosphere that demands your immediate and undivided attention. It's a visceral mystery, and your brain instantly tries to solve it.
Because here's the thing. For most people, silence is just a lack of sound. It's totally neutral. But for you, that silence transforms into a literal survival signal. Just imagine, you're at a dinner party. Everyone's chatting, plates are clinking, the energy is great. And suddenly, there's a lull in the conversation. Now, some people might just take a sip of their drink and simply enjoy the pause. But if you have this internal radar, man, that pause triggers a frantic decoding mission. Your brain immediately starts racing. Wait, why did it get quiet? Did I say something wrong? Is someone upset? Is a massive argument about to start? You are scanning the faces, the body language, the micro-expressions, trying to decode a threat that literally no one else in the room even registers.
Section 2. Subconscious pattern recognition. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the science behind where that frantic decoding actually comes from.
Because subconscious pattern recognition isn't a flaw, it's actually a highly evolved automatic brain mechanic. Your brain is essentially this giant prediction machine. It takes current data, like that sudden, awkward silence at the dinner table, and instantly cross-references it with your historical database to predict what's going to happen next. And where exactly does that database come from? Well, it's mapped directly back to your childhood environments. Your brain is automatically connecting the current quiet to the past, completely bypassing your logical, conscious thought. It's just reacting.
Silence meant a storm was coming. Take a second to really just absorb that. If you grew up in an environment that was volatile, chaotic, or emotionally unpredictable, you learned very quickly that the loudest threat wasn't always the yelling. No, sometimes the absolute most dangerous moment was that dead quiet right before the yelling started. The quiet before the door slammed. The quiet before the chaos. Your brain learned on a deeply neurological level that silence was simply the prelude to a storm. So this hyper-awareness you experience today, it is a deeply ingrained survival adaptation. Your brain is literally just doing what it was trained to do, keeping you safe by giving you a head start before the storm hits.
Section 3. Your internal radar's signs. This is where we shift focus from the origins of this behavior to how it actually empowers you as an internal radar today.
The source proposes a very specific structural way to look at this. It breaks down this seemingly chaotic internal experience into 8 clear signs. It's essentially a framework that reveals the secret language of your hyper-awareness.
So the crucial point is how these 8 signs form a complete protective radar system. First, sensing that ghost in the room, feeling that invisible weight. Second, reacting to everyday moments like those dinner pauses. Third, the immediate jump into frantic decoding, trying to solve the mystery of the quiet. Then we go deeper. Fourth, recognizing that your body is treating this as a literal survival signal. Fifth and sixth, the subconscious patterns linking directly back to your childhood. Seventh, that deeply held belief that a storm is coming. And finally, eighth, the overarching state of hyper-awareness that just ties the whole shebang together. When you view these not as separate, broken symptoms of anxiety, but as interconnected parts of a highly tuned radar system, the entire picture changes. Your brain isn't misfiring. It's executing a complex protective program flawlessly.
Section 4. Decoding the secret language. Let's pivot to the final takeaway here and see how this reframes the way we experience quiet social situations into speaking a totally different language.
And this brilliantly illustrates why understanding this secret language actually matters. This isn't just about being nervous. It is literally a secret language of hyper-awareness. When you understand the mechanics,
The childhood origins, the pattern recognition, the survival signals. You stop feeling like you're broken or just overly sensitive. Instead, you realize you're just fluent in a language that the people around you simply don't speak. You are reading environmental data that others are totally blind to. It shifts your perspective completely, from feeling like a victim of your anxiety to recognizing that you have an incredibly perceptive, finely tuned instrument.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. If your reaction to silence is actually a highly evolved radar system, what is it trying to protect you from today? Does the current situation actually warrant the alarm, or is your radar just picking up ghosts from the past? Understanding the architecture of your hyper-awareness validates your experience and empowers you to recognize your own profound adaptations. It allows you to finally tell your internal radar, hey, thank you for keeping watch, but there is no storm today. Think about that the next time the room goes quiet. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.